Hey everybody, my name is Jeff, and behind me is a 1966 Pontiac Grand Prix that's been sitting for 30 years. Let's see if we can get it running and driving. As you can see, it's a beautiful day in eastern Nebraska. We picked this car up probably about 2 months ago. It was out in central Nebraska. It was on an auction. A buddy of mine told me about it. They had about, 8 50s and 60s Pontiacs on that auction. All of them went for what I would say would be fair market value as far as non-running vehicles go. This 66 was probably the nicest out of all of them. The story goes, the original owner passed away and his son put them all in the auction. All he could remember was that his dad bought it somewhere in the late 80s, early 90s and stuck it in the Quonset. Never really did anything with it. He claimed that he bought it in the condition that it's in now, and it's really not that bad. The body looks extremely solid. There's some spots where the paint's flaking off. It kind of looks like it has Emron paint on it, but I'm not sure. But everywhere else, it really held up nicely. And being a Nebraska car, the thing is super clean. The interior looks really nice. Dirty but nice. I can't tell what the seats are out of, or the console for that matter. The console's not original. It looks like it's about a 70 GTO console. And aside from the front buckets and the console, everything else looks good and original. It does have aftermarket add-on AC under the dash there. How many miles we got? We're showing 89,000 miles. And I would guess that to be original. Oh, something I just noticed. It's got a skinny pedal on it. So this was probably a 4-speed car at one point. Well, that's a bummer that we have an automatic now, but what do you do? Got some mouse house going on in the headliner, of course. I mean, this car sat for 30 years. This is actually a lot nicer than I would have expected. Those 60s Pontiac dashboards are cooler than hell. Let's see what we can find under the hood. So under the hood, we have a very stock appearing 389. Let's see, are you a 4-barrel? Looks like we've got the factory Carter 4-barrel on it. There's the compressor for the add-on AC. You can tell this thing sat in the Quonset. All the corn and mouse poop. We got power steering, power drum brakes. Oh, we even have a core battery still in the plastic. Wonder how long that's been in there. Let's see if we can get under the air filter and see what the carburetor looks like. All right, as I suspected, a very stock Carter 4-barrel, which is good. I like these carbs. They're easy to work on, easy to adjust, especially if the motor's stock. Then you don't have to get into changing the metering rods or anything like that. Looks clean down there. That's good. So we're not going to risk dumping anything down the intake when we open our butterflies. It's a little sticky, but not bad. We got a full range of motion. We've got return. How about our shaft bushings? We've got a little bit of up and down play, but should be good enough for what we're going to deal with. I did check this motor. It's not stuck. That's not hooked up. That's fine. We don't need that. It does turn. Yep. It's loose, but it's not too tight or too loose. It acts like it's gonna have compression. How about our oil? Oil is black and full. We have that going for us. Coolant? Do we have coolant? That's a big radiator, probably a 4-core. Oh, it's about a third of the way down, but not bad. It's in there, so that's a great sign. Well, let's hop right to it. Let's take some plugs out. Ooh, yeah, that thing got chewed on. We're gonna need another set of those. We're gonna take some plugs out, put some fogging oil in the cylinders, and the reason I want to do that is because this thing's been sitting a long time. There's probably not any oil left on them, and I don't want to score them. I don't want to bust a ring, and it's also going to help with compression a little bit when it comes to first starting it. So we'll get these ripped out and get some fogging oil down there, and then see how it spins with a hot battery in it. Got all the plugs out, and everything looks really nice, honestly. I've never heard of Atlas spark plugs before. I wonder if those were from certain geographical locations or if they were sold everywhere, because I've taken a lot of these things apart and I've never seen Atlas. But all of them look good and brown. That one's got some carbon on it, but all in all, it doesn't look like it had a huge drinking problem or anything goofy like that. So I'll put some oil in the cylinders and see if we can get them to spin over with the starter. All right, we've got the old black to positive and black to negative. That should be negative. Yep, that's going to the head. Okay. Nothing seems to be on fire yet. We even have keys for this thing. How could we get so lucky? Is our interior full of smoke? Nope. Okay. Oh man, that thing doesn't seem all that willing. Let's see if we can start another one of these cars and drive again, eh? Nope. Hopefully there's no neutral safety switch. Horn? Nope. Okay. Fuel gauge turned on. Nothing on the battery side. Hey! Got some AM radio action. Fan? What do you know? All right. Contact. Yep. Oh no. Come on, little buddy. That sounds pretty good. That doesn't. So we have a 50-50 chance of that starter holding up. Well, now that we know that it spins nicely, let's jam the plugs back in it. I didn't puke out all that much oil. We're gonna use these plugs again for right now. I will put new plugs in it, but I don't want to get new plugs all oily, so we'll just jam the old ones back in there and then we'll test for spark. So I got all the plugs back in and the wires back on. We're gonna go on the offensive here and assume that our contact points aren't contacting. No. And we're gonna give them a file. So everything that I'm doing right now is an effort to drive this thing inside. It's gonna get a full tune-up eventually, because I'm gonna sell this thing. Ooh. But I don't think we're gonna be filing those. Those look pretty scuzzy. What's the rest of our cap and rotor look like? Good. We still have our little button down there, but our points are fuzzy. I don't think your points are supposed to be fuzzy. Are they stuck? They're not stuck. Little pads haven't came off yet, so we've got that going for us. Let's see if we can lose the tiny screws that hold the cap on, eh? Okay. biggest reason I keep all the points distributors around is because I'm always losing the hardware. If I had half a brain, I'd just go buy a pocket full of those little machine screws. But I'm cheap, and town's about 5 miles away, so we'll get this cap off so we get better access to our points. But all in all, they don't look like they've had a lot of time. I guess you can say that about most everything you see under the distributor, because it always looks clean if the cap's on all the way. My goodness. We got vacuum hoses are fighting me. Okay, we got our points pried open. We're gonna get our little file in there and scratch them up just to tickle. There's still a lot of pad left between them, but our mating surface is pretty ugly. So we'll scratch them up enough for them to hopefully transfer electricity. I'm going to turn the key on. We'll see if we can get spark out of it. Well, we've got spark. Oh, yep. I'm getting bit. We'll do a little flick. I think we're gonna be a-okay. All right, let's give her some fuel. I'm gonna try to gingerly fill the bowls with 40-to-1 weed whacker gas, but I don't think that these bowl vents are gonna allow that too well. We'll give it a shot anywho. Yeah, it's kind of taking it. Gently now. I'm not too worried about flooding an engine that hasn't been ran in a long time. Typically, that's kind of hard to do. Uncle Tony's garage had a good point. You know, the surfaces that the fuel's going to be traveling down is likely fairly carboned up, and it kind of needs the fuel to the fuel's gonna, what I'm trying to say here is the fuel's kind of absorb into that carbon. We'll try to give it a start. I'm gonna try to give it enough fuel to run initially, and then I can bottle feed it. It's working pretty well on that side. Must not have any obstructions. This thing's gonna run like hammered hell probably, because it's got a handful of chewed on spark plug wires, but I'll worry about that later. That should be enough to make a fire. I'm gonna hit the key and we'll see what happens. Oh, as you can see, we've got it running out of somewhere, so this carburetor might be no bueno. I can't tell where it's running out of, but it is running. Huh. Oh, we'll see if we can start another fire. just have a bad connection. How hot are these guys? Not too bad. Oh, that's a good spot for that. Alright, I got my new terminal on my battery cable. Now let's see if she cheeches. Well, I know it's got fuel. Let's check for spark. We'll see if I can do this while I'm cranking from the cab, see if I can see anything. Because I'm too lazy to hook up the little remote starter donger. You watch that. Need to get him up above that radiator hose and then I'll be able to tell. Come here, darling. How about that, eh? Oh, we don't have any sparks, so I guess I'll do the right thing and actually replace the points. Alright, we got our new points in. These old ones, not very whippy. The pads in between them are really, really bad. So we got the new one screwed down. We're gonna adjust them to 19 thousandths. If I can find my Allen wrench. All right. So you want this feeler gauge to just slide in between them without actually having to spread them. So we're a bit tight right now. Or are we? Is that just me? We're gonna loosen them up just a tickle. Just a tickle. Okay. I'm happy with that. We're also going to put a new rotor in there. For one, because we have it, and two, I want this thing to be dependable. Circle, circle, square, square. Cap's right in the way. Now we're gonna try something. We're gonna see if I'm full of crap or not, but typically the the wire that goes to the distributor goes to the negative side of the cable, but in this case they've got it ran to the positive side. So we're gonna see if that actually works or not. There should be no reason why we don't have spark now. Put our cap on. Don't pitch any wires with your cap. One bail. Two bail. All right, we'll give her another drink of fuel and see if it talks. That's plenty. Okay, everything hooked up, looks like it. How about it? Might be flooded a little. We'll give it another drink, then I'll hop in there so I can run the throttle. Well, I lost you there, but seemed to run. So we're not pulling any fuel yet, which is good, I think. Well, I would like to pull fuel because I'd like to use that fuel pump. So we'll see if we can get it filled up. I'd like to clock this guy so that I can stick my funnel down there. Let's try that, eh? There we go. So now we'll be able to fill that up to the brim, and it should run longer. With my acts like the float's stuck. Not allowing a lot of fuel to go down there. This carb's gonna have to be rebuilt. It's pretty ugly. Let's try that, eh? might be it for our fuel reserve in the car, but that's not bad. That thing's running pretty good for having a bunch of chewed on spark plug wires. Alright, I'm going to try to think of something else so that we can at least gravity feed fuel into that. Because I really don't want to do a fuel pump out here in the snow. I'm going to try drip feeding it for a bit with hopes that my fuel pump will come around and prime itself. Then I'll feel better about hooking up the fuel supply. We'll give him just a little bit of throttle. How can we cheese that open just a bit? We got this old cap. As we don't have it at WOT. I think our accelerator pump's even working. Let's try that, eh? Buddy. Oh, that's not so bad. That's a neat sound. Oh, we must have antifreeze moving around. Sweet. Well, our fuel pump doesn't seem to be pulling anything yet, so I think we'll just get this thing up in the air. We'll drain the fuel out of it, stick a fuel pump on it, see if we can get it to move around. Alright, so we got the snow cleared off the car. We got tires aired up, only had to replace that one. The rest of them are holding air. So we have our temporary fuel system rigged. So let's see if it just totally blows past the needle and seat when we hook this up. It's filling the bowls. So far so good. I don't see it dumping fuel. Huh, this might work. Well, let's hook everything up. Give it a shot. Oh yeah, right now. Not bad, eh? Come on, little buddy. You got this. I should have helped it a little bit. But I mainly wanted to see if it floods. I don't think it is. I don't see fuel pouring out around the carb. Let's see if we can get them warmed up. That alternator's making a bunch of noise. I don't think it's going to be long for this world. I want to get this thing idling so that I can check the level in the transmission to see if we've got a snowball's chance at moving this thing. I really don't want to put it on a trailer just to put it inside the shop. I'd rather try to drive it the 100 yards if I can. Come on, little buddy. I think it's going to be okay. Before I ran that electric fuel pump, I unhooked the feed line from the tank to the fuel pump just in case that fuel pump on the engine decided to start working and I didn't want it throwing fuel all over the engine bay and burning this thing down. This thing might idle. That idle's just set so low. I'm gonna bump it up and try it again. Okay, I got the idle turned up a couple turns. I think it needs some more though. This carb is pretty sticky and it's not letting the choke function the correct way. At the ends of the shaft, the linkage is all sticky. And wouldn't you know it, we got a oil pressure sender leaking oil. We're gonna get right to the meat and potatoes of it. Let's see if this fucker will move itself. I'm gonna have to 2-foot it. Brake pedal was stuck. Now it's freed up, but it's not doing anything. There's first. Yeah, it doesn't have any gears. We need to add some ATF. Alright, I threw 3 quarts in the transmission, so we'll see what that gains us, if anything. I'm either in reverse or neutral, I'm not sure. Alright, let's try drive. Nothing. Oh, it's trying. Oh, it's got a stuck wheel. What's behind me? Anything? That's our trouble, is we got a stuck wheel. Passenger side. We got gearage now, boys. Alright. Well, guess I'll pull that wheel back off and destroy all of the brake hardware. That's okay. We got new stuff coming. Yeah, she was spinning that side. Sweet. Well, I'll drag my jack out there again. Well, was it spinning both? Was it the front that was locked up? Yeah, that's rubber. I must have a front wheel that's stuck. Unless it was that one. No, she was spinning. How about that one? Is that one bald? There was definitely rotation going on there too. Okay, well, it's one of the front ones then. So we got our diesel powered floor jack out. We got a wheel ripped off. Let's see if we can make these things turn. Oh man, it's not excited about it. Oh, no. Nope. Man, it's not having it. I'm just gonna hurt myself if I try it like this. Yeah, I'm just gagging threads. Nope. Okay. I wonder if the other side's that bad. Man, I don't know about it all. I don't think. Whew. Yep. Guess we're taking the drum off. So we got one drum off with the hub puller. As we probably suspected, the pad liners were seized to the inside of the drum. We broke minimal parts. All we really tore loose was these retaining pins. Looks like all of our other pieces in there are in good shape. So I'll just do that to the other side. If you mess with these drums a lot, get yourself one of these hub pullers. That made really quick work of pulling that hub off of there. All right, I got the tires broke free. What are the chances of us having any emergency brake? Oh, we do. We got e-brake. We can move this thing. All right, let's bring it to the shop. Come on, little buddy. Oh yeah. Drive. back wheels are stuck enough that we shouldn't go anywhere too fast. We're just gonna idle him. And hope that that guy doesn't want to use this alley. We're just gonna take it easy. This thing doesn't really have a park. At least we have a hell of an approach at this little gutter right here, so if things get too out of hand, we shouldn't go we shouldn't go much further past it. Oh yeah. Oh no, come on. Oh, that's reverse. Come on. It doesn't like this approach. I guess not. My alligator clip came unhooked. Come on, little buddy. Everybody say hi to Dave. I don't got brakes. How about it? Let's not run into the Newport. Alrighty, it's day 2. We got the car inside. All the snow fell off of it. The paint looks pretty good, honestly. It's not perfect, but it's gonna look good driving by at 60 miles an hour. I'm honestly pretty impressed with it. It's too bad that it flaked off in these weird spots. Like that is so smooth right there. It's amazing that anything stuck to the car at all. So we're gonna do a ignition tune-up. We have our points gapped to 35 thousandths. Rule of thumb of these old GMs is typically points ignitions get the plugs gapped to 35 thousandths and HEI gets them gapped to 45 thousandths. So we'll throw those in. We'll replace our spark plug wires. We'll replace our distributor cap. And then I think for the fun of it, we're going to use the dwell meter on the points. Okay, I have our new plugs and wires installed. The Pontiacs use the same firing order as Chevys, except the distributor spins in a counterclockwise direction instead of clockwise like the Chevy, so it's 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. And to set our dwell, we're going to use this cool engine analyzer, and these things are super easy to use. All you need to do, set your switch to low, your function to dwell, your switch on other tests, and then use your black leads and put that on other tests. So what we're looking for is Here's our dwell range, and we're looking to get that to 30 on the 8-cylinder side. So when we crank it over, we're gonna have we've got our coil wire taken off, and we're gonna spin it with the ignition on, and we're gonna try to adjust the points so that our needle gets to 30. I'm gonna go switch the ignition on. All right. What are we missing? Is this not hooked up? Yeah, it's hooked up. But we don't have... There we go, now it's picking it up. Alright, so we're at 12 degrees. We need to get that up to 30. That bites. Ooh, doggies. Note to self, don't hold your hand right next to the coil while you're adjusting. Give it some more, counterclockwise. There's 25. We need to get him up to about 30. Give it a little more. 26. 27. 30. Perfect. Watch that. We need that dwell to be at 30. Sweet. All right, our dwell's adjusted. This thing should fire right up now. Not bad. Not bad. Hey, we're getting fuel out of there now. Our fuel pump might work. Cool. Well, let's see if we can make that fly. I was crawling around under here. Noticed our fuel line isn't hooked up. It was like that when I got it. Well, I don't know if something got pinched when we were loading it on the trailer with the forklift or what the heck, but I bet if we hook that up, it'll pull fuel out of the tank, but first we should probably see what's inside of this guy. It's hard to tell, but the inside of that is pretty scuzzy. It doesn't really look rusty, but it's got this white stuff everywhere, so we're gonna see how much gas we can get pulled out of there. It doesn't look like there's a lot left, so we'll get that sucked out. Got the old tank out. That's all that was left in it. Not even a gallon. Let's see if this shit will even burn. Oh man, not very well. Only if you hold a flame to it. But in the meantime, got both battery cables replaced, installed our alternator, new belts, new starter, finished up the ignition tune-up. Let's check our antifreeze. Also put upper lower radiator hoses and new heater hoses on it, because I've had that really fight me before. We need just a little more coolant. We'll try starting this thing. Get it up to temperature and check our engine temp with our thermometer gun here. Topped off. I checked the oil again. We'll just make it pull out of our can there. We got two black battery cables because, well, that's all we had available. Pumps. You know what I forgot? Fuel pump. That's also on the list of things to change. Two pumps. Thing doesn't sound very willing and able. Doesn't act like we have any fuel. That hose might not be long enough going into that can. Okay. Had that ruled out at least. Try it again. Definitely wants a little more idle. Battery gauge is going a little berserk. I think it comes out of it though. I think sounds okay, really. Revs up good. Accelerator pump definitely works. It's got a vacuum leak on the back of the carb where this line goes into it. It's pretty loose. Come on, little baby, stay running. I think can idle pretty low, really. Feel this. I'm sure that carb needs going through. But sitting here idling. We're loading up a little bit on this side. Not bad though. All in all, I'm impressed. It's quite decent for not having to touch the carburetor. Well, let's see what else we can get into. I got the carb rebuilt. The inside of it wasn't awful. I've seen a lot worse. Obviously the thing ran like this, but one of the metering rods was stuck, so that wouldn't have helped our case. It cleaned up quite nicely. We're going to start it and we'll let it warm up and we will adjust our idle mixture. Important to do with these tanks is lube your throttle linkage. They have a tendency to get sticky and hang up. There's 4 different pivot balls on these things, plus these bushings here on this bracket that you can lube. Better, it wasn't coming down to idle. So this is an original Carter AFB carburetor, and here are your idle mixture screws, these 2 here at the front. And stock spec for idle mixture adjustment is anywhere between 1/4 turns out and 2.5 turns out. So what I like to do is I like to have the engine all the way up to operating temperature and at an idle. So we've got our vacuum gauge here hooked up to full vacuum port idle at the back of the carburetor, and I have the one on the left all the way turned in. Well, now I do. And you don't want to bottom these things out really tight when you turn them in, or else you'll mess up the end of the needle. So what I'm going to do is I am going to turn this idle screw out until I have the highest vacuum reading on my gauge, and you want to do this slowly. So we're at about 16 inches of mercury right now. There's 17. Choke the engine. Yeah, it doesn't like that, so we're going to bring it back out. Opened it a little too far. Carb link is kind of sticky. Half, 1 half. They typically like to be about 1.5 turns out. There's 18, that's pretty good, 18 inches of vacuum. We're fast forwarding a few days here. I did some of the not so entertaining work on the car. As you can see, I've got my brand new drum brakes installed, rebuilt everything, put a new master cylinder on. I can't get a brake booster from O'Reilly's anymore, so I didn't put a booster on it. We're gonna roll the dice there. Got the front drums turned, was able to find new rear drums. Those are exceedingly difficult to buy, so if you plan on working on one of these things anytime soon, I would highly recommend trying to get all your brake parts lined up before you tear it apart. I changed the oil in the differential because the cover was leaking. It's an open diff, so it doesn't need friction modifier. If these things have a safety track posi, then you need to put posi additive in them. It's got 342 gears, so that's not awful. And you come to that gear ratio by taking the number of teeth on the ring gear and dividing it by the number of teeth on the pinion. Another thing I did was when I first started this car, it puked a bunch of ATF out of the dipstick. And I talked to a transmission friend of mine, not a friend that is a transmission, but he works on transmissions. His name's Corey Petska. He owns Gary's Hydros. He does great work. He's out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And he said that typically either a clogged vent or a plugged up filter on the transmission will cause them to puke out of the dipstick. So I dropped the pan on the transmission. Didn't have a bunch of clutch material inside of the pan, so that's good. I put a new filter in it, put a quart of Lucas in it. Everything seems to be working fantastic now, so we're gonna assume that that's good. I also had to put a new radiator in it. I changed all of the coolant hoses, the vacuum hoses, the fuel hoses, and after I swapped out my upper radiator hose, the neck on the upper radiator hose where it meets the radiator cracked. So I went to O'Reilly's and got one of these Chinese one size fits most radiators. I was pretty pleased with it. This isn't the first one I've used. It's a 2-core aluminum and it's got wide cores on it. Comes with all of the bungs that you need. If Something you need to pay attention to if you're running an automatic transmission with cooler lines is make sure you get the correct fittings, because these have small bungs on them, and typically these Pontiacs have larger diameter lines. So it was just some busy work I needed to tie up. Nothing that's terribly entertaining, but if anybody wants to see a complete video on drum brakes, I would be happy to do it. It's just not very much fun to watch. So I don't have my new fuel sending unit in yet. I ordered it, it's on back order. So what we're gonna do is I pulled one of the plugs out of the trunk pan, ran some fuel line into it, and we're just gonna stick the boat tank back here. That'll be good enough for now. We're doing our thing, but we're loading up. From what I can tell, it might be flooding on the passenger side, judging by all the moisture coming out of the pipes. But we've got brakes. Let's see if we've got a second gear. I can't tell if that was a shift or not. How do the brakes work on the snow? Yeah, all right. Good acceleration. I think we're flooding. Yeah, we've got pretty good smoke coming out of the back. That's running like shit. Ooh, sorry, squirrel. Yeah, we got a pretty mean burble. Runs all right if you keep the RPMs up. Kind of got a 2-foot the thing. Yeah, we've got something we need to revisit. I don't know if you can tell in the video, but it's got kind of a chug. And then once you take your foot out of it, it wants to load up really bad. Tried to do my due diligence when rebuilding that carburetor, but sometimes there's only so much that you can do with these old ones. At any rate, we're going to try it again. I'm going to try setting the float a little bit differently. It acts like it's got way too much fuel on that side. Golly, I need to put mufflers on this thing. One of them's really blown out. I don't know if you can tell, but sounds like not very good. The thing's snappy though. It'll put you back in your seat. You can surely tell this thing's got 342s in it. It's just loading up on that side. Oh yeah, way too much fuel. Brakes feel good. How about it? Can we lock them up? Oh yeah. Oh, don't die, little buddy. Used all my vacuum. Yeah. We better get this thing back, or else we're going to be doing an oil change because of all the fuel in the crankcase. I checked the floats before I put it back together. Both of them floated. Neither of them were sunk. Excuse me, people. Yeah, we got a pretty good burble. Yeah, we'll stick this thing back inside. Hopefully we can get this thing so it doesn't flood. I really don't want to buy a new carburetor, but that just might be in the cards. We'll see. As you can see, things have escalated financially. We're no longer sporting our original Carter AFB carburetor. For some reason, I could not get that thing to quit running rich on the passenger side. It would smoke out the passenger side. The idle mixture screw had no effect on it. I tried blowing out the passage of the idle mixture screw with air and carb cleaner. Everything seemed to flow as it needed to, but for whatever reason, I just could not get it to quit dripping out of the booster on that side. So we have our new 1406 Edelbrock installed. This is a 600 CFM carb with the electric choke. They're really easy to hook up, especially on these old Pontiacs, because they're basically the same dimensions as the original Carter AFB. Now, as you can see, this thing's running pretty smooth right now. We're at just under 20 inches of mercury at an 800 RPM idle, and that needle is holding really steady, which is what you like to see. That is usually an indicator of a healthy engine. So I've got each of our idle mixture screws turned down about half a turn, and I checked the temp with my laser, and we're at about 180 degrees, so we're all the way warmed up. And our choke butterfly is all the way open too. So what we're gonna do now is we're going to try to get not only the most inches of mercury out of the vacuum, but also the highest RPM that we can by adjusting the two idle mixture screws here. So Edelbrock, in their instructions, they want you to go off of RPM. They don't mention idle, or vacuum I should say, but I like seeing both of them just because I'm nosy. I was really interested to see what our vacuum reading was with the new carburetor, because with the old carb it was kind of erratic and it was hard to get a good feel as to whether or not the engine was actually healthy. But now you can see the needle is holding very still. That's awesome. Look, you like to see it between the 15-20 range at least. If you've got a more aggressive camshaft, the vacuum is going to be much lower at idle, and that's just the way that it is. But with stock engines, that's right where you want to see that. So we're only out a half a turn from the bottom on these screws, and typically spec is anywhere between a half a turn and 1.5 turns out. So let's take this screw out a couple turns and we'll see how that treats us. So we're picking up vacuum very slowly by turning this screw out. And that's awesome because our RPM is also picking up. So we're gonna turn this screw out until the vacuum number quits going up and the idle RPM quits going up. So we did a quarter turn, I believe, right there. There's another quarter turn. It picked up minimally. I don't think we need to go any further past that. I'll go another quarter just for fun to see what it does. You can actually hear the engine start to bog when I went out another quarter. So I'm gonna screw it back in, and by screwing it in, I'm leaning out the fuel mixture a little bit. So on these things, you screw them in, that gives you a leaner mixture, out gives you a richer mixture. So I'm happy with that one right there. Now let's go over to the other one. I'm gonna dial the screw all the way in just for fun, so that you can see how it affects our vacuum reading. So it's all the way in now, and you can see it really bogs down the engine. So we'll take it back out. And you want to do this very slowly. I lost track of where I am. I'll go all the way in again. There's in. There's out 1/4 of a turn. Well, more like 3/4. We'll go another quarter and see what it does. That richened it. Probably can't tell in the video, but the idle changed a little bit. I'm gonna lean it out again. Yeah, it's holding really still at about 21. So just by adjusting our idle mixture screws, our RPM picked up about 70-80 RPMs. What happens if I go a little bit farther? Because that screw's not out very far right now. Yeah, we're almost at 900. That's almost a whole 100 RPMs. I'm gonna go a little bit more. Not much of a change. That was about an 1/8 turn. Let's go a half. It didn't like that as much. We're just gonna go back in an 8. Yeah, so we're around the 900 mark now. Look at all that vacuum too. That's awesome. This thing is happy, man. That's good, no bog. This thing is responsive as all get out. I love it. Yeah, hanging out at 21 inches of mercury. All right. This thing having a stock profile camshaft, this thing can stand to idle at like 800 RPMs. So let's screw our idle mix, or not our idle mixer screw, but our idle speed screw out to lower our idle. We can go a little bit lower than that. I want to get it low so that it doesn't bang when I put it in gear, but not so low that when I stand on it, that it bogs. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that a lot. Let's go drive this thing. Fun fact. Carter AFB air filters don't fit on quadrojets. Or not quadrojets, Edelbrocks. Alright, so we've got an air filter stuck on this thing. Let's go dodge the cops and go out to the proving ground. Come on, second gear. There it is. Nice. I must have put enough ATF back in it. We got power brakes working. Do we have a blinker? No. I can hear a blinker. I don't see an indicator, but I hear a blinker. And not auto canceling. This thing seems pretty good. Our battery gauge is a little jumpy. Well, there it just evened out. Okay, that's fine. We don't have a fuel tank in it right now, so we're not going to get that vital sign. No speedometer either. I'm on third already, am I? Oh man, that thing puts you back. I'll have to pay attention up here to what gear I'm in. About to right the blinker. Maybe, maybe not. I must have done a good job at adjusting the brakes because it stops nice and evenly. It doesn't jerk to one side. First. Second. Might need a little more fluid. I think we may. Oh, this thing needs shocks. Absolutely need shocks. Oh, at least there's a car coming. Ooh, we don't want to drive in that stuff. That is not good. Close back into the old cemetery here. D for dominate. Let her eat. I think it started off in second. Yeah, because that's definitely third. This thing eats. Those 342 gears are helping it out immensely. brakes. Granted, everything is new in their power, but still, I don't understand all the hype for disc brake conversions. If you're doing like road course stuff, then I totally get it. But these big old cars stop just fine with drum brakes if they're adjusted correctly. Yeah, I might be a little on the low side on the ATF, but I think it's hitting all the gears. We'll bring her back down. Decent. I am quite pleased with this thing. I am in drive, aren't I? Ooh, I may not have been in drive. I might have been in firstage. That's definitely first. Thing seems pretty spunky. I'm happy. We're gonna call this a W. Can we make it do a tire fire? Oh yeah. Second gear tire fire. Tell you what, those cheap highway tires sure do make a lot of smoke. Well, it needs tires, but this thing's just about the finished product. Now that we got it good and hot, let's see how it starts again. Not bad. Not bad at all. I'm pleased, guys. I am. I can't wait to get this thing cleaned up. Everything seems to work good. I'm gonna recheck the ATF level, but I think I'm calling it. I think this thing's happy. Well, I appreciate everybody sticking through the video to the end. We've got a few more where these come from. See you later.